In today's video, I'm giving you 5 reasons why you need to show up even if you blush. If you're terrified, you need to do it anyway. Stick around. Today, I want to talk about courage, not the absence of fear, because if you're a human, you're gonna feel some fear. It's about feeling the fear and doing it anyway. And especially for those of you who blush, have erythrophobia, which is the fear of turning red, shake, sweat, all those social anxiety, fun things that you deal with, it's even more important for you to show up. And I'm gonna tell you why. But first, before we get started, hello there, my name is April, and I am the founder of Blushing Phoenix. Yours truly struggled with erythrophobia for about 6 years until I just decided I'm not doing that anymore. And on this channel, I tell you how it was a very real thing for me and how I was able to navigate my way out. So here at Blushing Phoenix, what we do is we help passionate, creative, and ambitious people who are held back by social hindrances, blushing one of those, and other social anxiety things. We help you get unstuck from the belief system that is making you feel small and insecure and not worthy. And we shift your mindset. You have to do this. I can't do this for you, but you will do it through changing your beliefs and transformative action, which will set you free. So thank you for joining me today, and let's get into the video. Number 1, growth happens outside of your comfort zone. Now I know this is not the first time that you've heard this, but it is the truth. That's why you hear it all the time. Growth happens on the outside of the comfort zone. It is when there is resistance, when there's discomfort, when there is some way for you to build resilience. That is when you grow. Remember the first time that you put yourself in a really uncomfortable situation? You spoke in front of a group, you turned in a paper that you worked really hard on, but you weren't sure if somebody was gonna like it. Whatever you did. You applied for a job and you really put yourself out there and you got the job. Remember how exhilarating it felt that you overcame not only the task at hand, but yourself, your fears, and everything else, and accomplished the goal. In hindsight, you can look back at that and realize that the only way you were able to grow is by putting yourself in the space where discomfort was and taking the risk of rejection. And sometimes you do get rejected, but when you win, you win. And even when you get rejected or you fail, you're also growing. Growth happens outside of your comfort zone. If you're flushing and you're red and you're shaking and you're sweaty and you're afraid to go out and meet people and do things and do the things that you love because you're afraid of how you're gonna be perceived, you're not gonna grow that way. And if blushing, specifically erythrophobia, that fear of turning red, is holding you back, it is just this never-ending cycle of self-fulfilling prophecy when you don't put yourself outside of your comfort zone. Because really, you're not comfortable, you're held captive. Being captive and comfortable are not the same thing. Captivity can disguise itself as comfort, so don't get the two confused. Number 2, authentic connections are forged. When we show up authentically in the face of fear, something magical happens. We deeply connect in our vulnerability with other people. Now, for some of you, I know you may be so terrified because somebody called out your redness or somebody called out that thing that makes you feel so insecure and it made you feel this big. So we can focus on that. Sure, that was a reality. That's something that happened. Or we can focus on the people that we authentically connect with because we show up as ourselves, because we're willing to push through fear, because we're willing to put courage in the place of comfort and show up. You can meet some really valuable people who are deeply connecting with a very authentic version of you, and those are your people. For me, showing up on this channel and talking about this topic has allowed me to meet you and many other people just like you, just by being vulnerable and talking about the thing that I was debilitated by 6 years ago. If you want authentic connections, you have to show up authentically yourself, and you have to be willing to step into your courage and let yourself be seen and known. Number 3, confidence is cultivated through action. Confidence is not the absence of fear. It is knowing that you can handle whatever comes your way. It's not about how you feel, it's about what you know. I feel terrible feelings often, So for example, if you've been around for a while, I am running a 5K with my daughter this year. I've never ran a 5K before officially, and I've been training since January. Now I had a lot of postpartum recovery after having my third child back in 2021, and I'm now at a place where I can run. I'm feeling way more physically fit, and I try to run at least 5 days a week, and I try to do at least 2 miles, because I mean the 5K is 3.1, but 2 miles feels like a stretch, and a mile feels like that's kind of easy, but 2 miles is when I really start to tap into being incredibly uncomfortable and wanting to quit, and nobody's making me stay there, but it's this like mental thing that I get to overcome by putting myself in an uncomfortable situation. Now, every morning when I go to run, the first 5 to 7 minutes of me jogging is my body feeling completely uncomfortable. I feel things that don't feel loose yet. I feel pains. I feel tight muscles, and like everything in my body is saying that I'm uncomfortable, this doesn't feel good, you should stop. My feelings are not dictating what my end result is going to be. Now I know that as my body warms up, as my heart rate gets up, and as I keep going, I'm going to reach a point where everything starts to loosen up, and I am not going to be feeling all of that discomfort that I feel when I get started. But if I stop because I listen to the feelings, then I'm not ever going to reach that place where the endorphins kick in, and I wouldn't have gotten the results that I have so far this year, which is being prepared and ready to run a 5K. I've done it a couple of times since training, so I know I can do it even though I don't do it every day. And also losing like 15 pounds up to this point and feeling so much better and capable in my body because I was willing to show up. So confidence is cultivated through action. When I first started running, whoa, I think it took me like 18 minutes to run a mile. It was like I was barely moving, and there was a lot more mass for me to move around. And now I just get it done because it is cultivated. The confidence is cultivated through the action. Same thing happened with erythrophobia for me. The reason why I can sit here and talk to you in such confidence now, regardless of whether I turn red and start flushing. I think my last video, I got off of the video with you and immediately just started flushing, and I'm like, where did that come from? And it was because it was extremely hot, and also I had chugged down a Starbucks coffee. Sometimes caffeine does not sit well in my nervous system, and I got really excited about some stuff with Blushing Phoenix because I had gotten some news, and so all of that in my body just created this like massive flush. I didn't think about it, and I've been on this video with you guys before, and I start flushing as I'm telling you to show up while you're flushing, because confidence is cultivated through action. I know I'm really harping on this one because I know that the feelings can stop us. I know that discomfort can stop you. I know that your beliefs stop you. I know that because it feels hard, it will stop you. If you want confidence, you have to cultivate that through action, and as we say here on Blushing Phoenix, transformative action that is dependent upon you. When you move into action, you are teaching yourself that you can trust yourself, and you're teaching yourself that you're capable beyond the feelings of discomfort. Life is going to bring a lot of discomfort and a lot of feelings. Confidence is cultivated through the action. So get going. Number 4, opportunities abound for the brave. If you don't show up, how will opportunities be there for you? I know on my own journey, it is so interesting. Back in the day, I used to try to map out like what I want my life to look like, what my goals are, and I would be so specific because that's what I was told I should do. But as I started seeing a pattern in my life, it was not about really what I physically wanted at the end of the day. It was about how did I want to feel. Now I know that this can sound counterintuitive to what I just shared with you about discomfort and feeling and all of those things, but when I say feel in what I'm talking about with number 4, is I'm talking about what do I want to feel in my being most of the time. And for me, that is peace, and the squeaky chair, you guys, that is peace, autonomy. I want to be able to be creative. I want to laugh and have a good time. And yes, there will be discomfort that comes my way, but it's not going to stop me. The bulk of the time, I want to feel peace and autonomy and flexibility and freedom around my life, my finances, in my body and my health, and with the people around me. So opportunities abound for the brave, for people who are willing to show up. You meet new people. Somebody sees or hears you or reaches out to you and says, hey, I saw you at this event. I saw you doing this thing. For instance, I shared on my last video about a business owner who I met and found out that she actually has some flushing and blushing episodes and could totally relate to Blushing Phoenix. And I met her at a women's event that I showed up at alone in a land that I don't know anybody, and just connected with her by answering questions in a workshop that she was hosting at this women's event that I was at. And then like a month or so later, I'm sitting at coffee with her. We're developing a friendship, and she's a business owner and she's a creative and she builds content and she coaches, and I do the same thing. And that iron is going to sharpen iron. And one thing that she said to me during our meeting recently was, we were talking about Blushing Phoenix, we were talking about the growth of Blushing Phoenix, and she was like, how can I support you on that journey? What? So just by showing up to a women's event where I had no expectation of meeting a new friend that is specifically a business owner, that is specifically knows what erythrophobia blushing is, that I would make that connection. But because I was willing to show up, the opportunities abound for the brave. I was there, she was there, the expectation for me wasn't there. I was just there to learn and be around like-minded women, and I walked away with something really awesome. The same thing has followed me in my life in other aspects where I show up, I give of myself, and then the opportunities find me. It's not specific, but it gives me that feeling of peace and autonomy and creativity and flexibility. And I know that I'm on the right path when I'm feeling those things. Or if I'm feeling massive discomfort, but it's in alignment with my goals and where I want to go, that's where I'm going to continue to head, regardless of whether I feel, temporarily I feel uncomfortable, but overall I want to feel peace and joy and all those great things. So opportunities abound for the brave. If you want opportunities, you have to show up. Nobody's coming to get you. Nobody's going to drag your creativity out of you. Nobody's going to tell you you're such an amazing writer and you need to write, and they just need you to write for them, and they're going to pay you hundreds of thousands of dollars for your content. It doesn't work that way. You have to show up, and then the opportunities will meet you there. And number 5, when you show up, you inspire others to do the same. There are so many people on this channel that see me right here talking, and they feel hopeful because I overcame erythrophobia. And they believe that if I could do it, they could do it too. It's part of why I created this channel for people like you, is because it's to teach you a different belief. It is to spark an idea in your mind that maybe you're not a victim to this, that maybe you can overcome this, and that maybe you will overcome this, and not maybe, you will overcome this, because April from Blushing Phoenix did it, and she creates videos and content and newsletters all the time about how she overcame erythrophobia. If I can do it, you can too. It's why I spend my time making this free content for you, so that you could have hope and a belief. And that belief, if you truly believe that you could have freedom from erythrophobia and blushing, that it wasn't dictating your life anymore, if you believed it in your being, your whole life will transform through transformative action that doesn't always feel good at first, but the next thing you know, while you're on that journey, you wake up one day, or you're in a social setting, and you realize you're not blushing. And if you are, you don't care. And then it's weird because it's like it triggers this thing in your mind all of a sudden. Like, I remember back in the day when I had panic attacks and I was overcoming the panic attacks, and I just got distracted in my mind, because if I didn't tell you yet, I have a new ebook coming that is all about a real guideline of how I overcame erythrophobia. Obviously, you can find all that stuff here on my channel, but in this book, I have curated all of this information and knowledge in a very realistic guide for you, and that's coming in the very near future. And the reason why I got distracted when I was thinking about it just now is because The same philosophy that I applied to overcoming debilitating panic attacks and anxiety is the same thing that I applied to overcoming erythrophobia, and it works. So all of that is in that book, and that will be coming out soon. But I got a little sidetracked there. The pandemic. What are you talking about? My brain. The panic attacks. Trauma. The panic attacks. I got to a place where I was overcoming the panic attacks. And I remember sitting in a room where I would normally have a panic attack. I wasn't thinking about it at all. I was not hyper-focused or fixated on anything. And then all of a sudden, it dawned on me, wow, I would normally have a panic attack in this situation, and I'm not having a panic attack. And then all of a sudden I felt like my breathing started getting labored and my heart started beating faster. It's like I was triggering a panic attack by the fact that I wasn't having a panic attack, but I had already overcome them by this point. So even though I started to feel some of that adrenaline kick in, it didn't even happen. More about that to come. Be sure to sign up for my newsletter. This is a perfect opportunity for a pitch on my newsletter. If you are not signed up for my newsletter, I send them out weekly, and when that ebook is available, you will know about it through the newsletter. So that is in the description box below. And in the meantime, if you are looking to learn more about erythrophobia, because sometimes the first step is you got to know, what are you actually up against here? If you just want to know more about what the heck is erythrophobia, maybe this is the first time you've ever heard that term, and chronic blushing, it is a thing. You're not alone. Out of 7.9 billion people in this world, it has been studied and researched that 5 to 7% of those 7.9 billion struggle from some sort of debilitating chronic blushing issue. So you're not alone. That's like 300-ish million to 500-ish million people, and you're part of that big group. So if you want to learn more about erythrophobia, be sure to click the link in the description box below, which is my ebook that's all about understanding erythrophobia and reframing how we view blushing. It is a Erythrophobia 101. It just gives you some of the knowledge that you need to understand what is it that you're actually dealing with, and some practical tips on how you can start to move through it. Back to my number 5 topic, because I don't know if I closed it out, but you inspire others to do the same when you show up. It shows them that it's possible, that there's hope, that even though they feel afraid, you felt afraid or feel afraid and do it anyway. Another story I'll tell you is I remember when I was a high-level executive, a C-suite executive at a company, and we had to speak to the team every week. It's like 500 employees, and I was often asked to speak. And I remember somebody walked up to me one time after I had given some motivational speech, and this lady walked up to me and said, "Oh my gosh, you were just so confident and so great at speaking." And I told her, I was like, "Well, thank you. I appreciate the compliment. I'm terrified every time I start to speak." And she was like, "I would never know that." And I'm like, "I just do it afraid." And the thing is that once you do it afraid, it starts to teach your nervous system that you're safe here. And the more you just keep doing it, the more your nervous system's like, oh, we do this. This is a thing we do. It doesn't mean I'm not ever going to not be afraid when I start, but I don't go away from it. Go back to my running story. If I keep running, then the endorphins kick in. The pain starts to not necessarily go away, but it leaves my mind. It's not so loud in my head because I have a mission that I'm on, and it doesn't have room for the discomfort. I urge you to embrace your fears. Fear is not going away. There is no fear. Fear is part of being human. It's about, what are you going to do with that fear? Are you going to let it hinder you, or are you going to let it fuel you into the future that you want through transformative action? You are so much more than redness. That literally has nothing to do with who you are, the value that you bring, your worth, and what you're going to do for this world. You, in your essence, is a ripple effect for everybody else in this world to experience by who you touch, how you show up, and what you're willing to do for humankind. You deserve a life of purpose and passion, and you are the only thing standing in your way. All right, my friends, leave a comment below. Tell me your light bulb moments. What really spoke to you today? What out of any of these 5 tips are you applying in your life, or anything that I didn't list here that you find really helpful that others here at Blushing Phoenix would find helpful as well? You know I love hearing from you. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe. You can really support the channel by subscribing and liking the videos and interacting with the videos here. We are on a mission to grow this channel to 5,000 in the next 2 months, because I started this channel 5 years ago almost, and it's time we create a bigger ripple effect and a bigger impact by letting other people know that they're not alone, that this channel is here, that you're here, and that we're all moving through transformative action into living a life that we love. We are rising and thriving on our terms. So if you want to be part of that mission and help grow the channel to reach other people and create more of a positive impact for people to stop hiding behind their blushing and step out into their lives, then be sure to subscribe. And I will see you in my next video. Until then, you better rise and thrive.